So, so once again, many thanks for hopping on and joining us for our webinar today, Unlocking Fundraising Power with Soapbox Engage and the Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. We're very excited to be sharing the details of this webinar with you today, and we hope that you find it useful as you're looking to just better leverage fundraising tools online and in your CRM to support your nonprofit organizations. So this webinar is part of our series of webinars that we do generally once a week, also on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And we try and go through all of the various apps that we have within the Soapbox Engage suite. And this one is particularly focused on the donations app and its integration with Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud, that we will mention some other aspects of our integration between the Soapbox Engage platform writ large and Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. Just by way of introduction, my name is Tim Forbes. I'm the VP of Products and Customer Success here at Soapbox Engage. I'm also a former nonprofit accidental techie myself. Prior to my now, almost 18 years, I think, with Soapbox. I worked for a decade with different nonprofit organizations. So the work that you all are doing is near and dear to my heart. And it's a privilege and honor to be serving you all through our Soapbox Engage apps and services. So for today's webinar, what I want to do is start off with just a few brief comments in overview, really, of Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud, and then dig into Soapbox's integration with the Nonprofit Cloud. So what is Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud? Nonprofit Cloud is Salesforce's current offering that is purpose-built for the nonprofit sector. It's got a number of modules in it that serve specific purposes that nonprofits have. That includes a fundraising module as well as a programmatic module, and they're iterating on this as we speak to build out new functionality in support of the things that nonprofits do and need to track in their constituent relationship management tool. The Nonprofit Cloud is a departure from earlier offerings that Salesforce had, like the Nonprofit Success Pack, in that it is built directly on the core of Salesforce. So that means that in years past, if you had the Salesforce Nonprofit Success Pack, those were packages that were installed on top of Salesforce. The Nonprofit Cloud does away with that and adds elements just within the core of Salesforce that support the functionality that Nonprofit Cloud offers. And the way they do that is by providing it as one of the industry solutions that Salesforce has. Industry solutions are particular solutions that are targeting different verticals within various sectors to serve those sectors with purpose-built tools. So Nonprofit Cloud is that for nonprofit organizations. Now, what makes Nonprofit Cloud different than, say, the Nonprofit Success Pack? Well, we touched on one already, the fact that it is built on the core of Salesforce as opposed to being a managed package or multiple packages that are installed. In addition to that, it has a very different data model, particularly when it comes to fundraising data. And we're going to get into a bit of what that looks like as we walk through the demonstration we're going to be doing here in just a moment. It also offers person accounts as opposed to the account and contact model that you might be familiar with if you're used to just Salesforce Enterprise or the Salesforce Nonprofit Success Pack. In addition, the Nonprofit Cloud also has a different way for services like ours, app providers that process donations online and look to send that data to Salesforce. It has a different process whereby we send that data to Salesforce, and then an API or service that Salesforce built specifically to receive that data receives it and pushes it to the various places within Nonprofit Cloud that the data model expects it to go. So all of that may sound very squishy. It might feel not very tangible at the moment. We'll change all that as we dig into the demo here in just a moment so you can get a sense of what all that means. And that demo is going to focus on online fundraising and the donations app. Hopefully it's not just $1 that you're raising from your supporters, but many hundreds of dollars that you're raising. Um, and we'll just go ahead and jump in now to a demo where I get to show you the various ways that we integrate with Nonprofit Cloud. Just by way of setting the scene here, Soapbox has a lot of different apps and functionality within our overall suite. And most of these items that are listed here integrate with Nonprofit Cloud in exactly the same way that they integrate with enterprise version of Salesforce or nonprofit success pack version of Salesforce. The one that is unique is the donations app. So now it's time for a little show and tell so that we can walk through more specifically what's going on. So starting from the front end user experience of Soapbox donations, just like any other integration that we have with a CRM service, be it other versions of Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, um, everything starts with a donor or a visitor coming to your Soapbox Engage website and taking an action. In this case, we're looking to have somebody process a donation. And that donation form allows you as an administrator to define what sorts of donations you want to accept, either one-time, monthly, annual donations, allows you to set predefined amounts, allows you to collect contact information for that individual. That includes the standard required information like first name, last name, email address. It can include custom fields if you wish. It can include whether or not folks want to sign up for your newsletter or make this donation in dedication, in honor or in memory of someone. One thing that is unique to our integration with the Nonprofit Cloud is the ability to also include a designation that is associated with this particular donation form. And that designation can be defined just by you as the administrator in the donation form within Soapbox, so that any and all donations processed through this form have the same designation applied. Or you can make a donor chosen designation form that renders a drop down here with the various designations that you have created within Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud and then selected for this particular form so that an individual can choose which of these designations they want to associate their donation with. So if we were to go ahead and submit this form after entering our information here for a credit card, and we're deciding to cover the transaction fee, we go ahead and submit that, and then Soapbox will go ahead and show a confirmation page that you define, which can include a number of different merge fields that show information about the donor or the donation here. That can include the designation that they selected, if you wish, as well as the amount, the frequency, a number of other options that are available to you. Now, once that donation is processed, what happens actually even before the confirmation page is shown and the confirmation email is sent is Soapbox will record that donation locally just to your Soapbox administrator, and will also send that data to Nonprofit Cloud to that business process API that I mentioned before, basically that service that is waiting with Salesforce to get information that Soapbox sends it about donations that are processed. Now, if we go ahead and jump into the administrator of Soapbox, we can cruise on over to the donations app. We're going to go to the transactions view and take a look at what's saved to Salesforce and to Soapbox. So we've actually processed two donations for this demo. The first one was the recurring donor donation. That was a monthly donation. And then this one-time donation, we get a chance to see what the difference is between those two transactions. So this transaction detail view, which we can open from the transactions table, has all of the information that would be here regardless of what CRM Soapbox is integrating with. That includes transaction information, payment details, contact information. And then if we get down here lower, we get to see information that is specific to Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. Because what we do is when we send the data to Salesforce, Salesforce says, great, thank you. I appreciate receiving this information from you, Soapbox. I'm going to put it in all of these different places. So what Soapbox is noting here is essentially a map of the data map, the data model of Nonprofit Cloud's fundraising section, because that includes, first and foremost, the creation of a gift transaction record that represents the money that the donor just gave. And we go ahead and record the ID. This is a unique ID for the record in Salesforce, as well as the account ID. This is going to be the person account that this gift transaction is associated with. And the way that Nonprofit Cloud processes this information is it will automatically do a matching process for this information for this donor. So it will go ahead and look for any existing person account that matches generous donor with generous donor at example.com as its contact information. If it finds one, it'll go ahead and associate this new gift transaction with that existing person account. If it doesn't find one, then Salesforce will go ahead and create a new person account and associate that gift transaction with that new person account. Further down here, we've got the gift designation ID. Again, this is all of these are IDs that are unique values within the Salesforce, actually this entire Salesforce ecosystem, but specific to your org. The gift designation ID, this is the ID that was associated with the designation that in this case the donor chose on the front end view. You can also associate a given donation form with a campaign and an outreach code in Salesforce. We'll see how you do that in a few minutes, but here we get to see the values that this gift transaction are associated with. Gift commitment ID, this here is blank because this is a one-time donation. Gift commitments are created for recurring donations, and we'll see that in a moment. And then this last item, payment instrument ID, Salesforce goes ahead and records the gift transaction, and then as a child of that gift transaction, it will note what form of payment was used. So in this case, it was a Visa card ending in 1111 with an expiration of 12/2025. That is saved to the payment instrument along with a number of other details. If we look at the other example here of the monthly initial recurring donation that was processed, we can scroll down and see a lot of the same information. One difference is that we've got subscription information here, which is captured because it is a recurring donation. And then further down, we see all of the same data points that we saw on the one-time donation with the addition of this gift commitment ID. Now, if we take a peek in Salesforce in Nonprofit Cloud, we log in to the homepage here, we can go to gift transactions, and within the gift transactions view, we can see both of our two donations that we processed. And if we click through, we can see the details of what was added. So gift transaction with the name of that transaction, the link to the donor, the link to the campaign that it's associated with, the link to the outreach source code, the payment instrument, and then a number of other details here. One thing to note is because our Soapbox donation form had just first name, last name, email address in the contact information section, that will always be seen as a donation from an individual because there's no company or organization offered for this donation. If within the donation form you enable the standard organization field in Soapbox, and if the donor fills out that organization field, then that donation will be seen as an organization or company gift, and that would be reflected both here in the gift type and in the donor itself. We also record the transaction date, transaction completion date, as well as the status. So this is going to be paid. And because we chose to cover the donation amount, we note what the amount was that was covered so that you can see that here. And then we'll see the total amount that was donated. Other details, you can see payment method, you can see the gateway reference, which is the transaction ID of the record. Now, if we look at the payment instrument, you can see additional information that we noted earlier, that this was a credit card, last four digits were 1111, the expiration month, expiration year, and the card brand. You also get to note here that this came from Soapbox Engage. So if you're entering presumably other payments for other donations that have other payment instruments in Nonprofit Cloud, you can always know that this donation came from Soapbox Engage because of the payment processor name. Then we also record the gateway name. So in this case, the site that we used to process the payment is integrated with the authorized.net payment gateway. So therefore, that's recorded as such here. If we look further at our recurring donation example, so the same exact thing applies with how Soapbox is recording information to the gift transaction, in that it records that first initial payment for the recurring donation with the additional gift commitment record that gets created. So if we click through to that, we get to see the details of, okay, this is a recurring donation. We can see the total amount that was paid. We see other details like the fact that this is a monthly donation, the last time the payment was made. With this recurring donation, this gift commitment record, when Soapbox gets notified by the payment processor, in this case authorized.net, that a future monthly payment is charged, Soapbox will record that subsequent recurring donation and then send it to Salesforce, just like it does for a one-time payment or an initial recurring payment. When it does that, it will go ahead and associate that subsequent recurring payment, its gift transaction, with this gift commitment record as well. So you'll be able to see all of that information here, and be able to see the individual gift transactions that come through on this related list, as well as just the gift transactions tab within Salesforce. So that's how the data flows into Nonprofit Cloud. That's what we're expecting when a donation gets processed through Soapbox and sent to Nonprofit Cloud. Now let's touch on some of the elements within Soapbox for how you can control how all of this integration works. So First and foremost, we're going to jump back to the control panel of our Soapbox Engage instance. And the key thing to note as a first step when you look to connect your Soapbox instance with your Salesforce nonprofit cloud instance for the purpose of integrating the donations app with nonprofit cloud, you need to come to the Salesforce nonprofit cloud settings module here on the control panel. And you've got the option to integrate this with either a production instance or a sandbox instance of Salesforce. You can choose the appropriate one. In this case, we're connecting to a production instance. You go ahead and click connect. Once you do that, you'll be taken to a Salesforce login page where you'll enter the username and password of the user account in Salesforce that you wish to use to connect Soapbox to your nonprofit cloud instance. Once you click login, then you'll be sent back to Soapbox here. It will refresh the control panel and it will update the Salesforce nonprofit cloud settings module to show a disconnect button that you can use if you ever want to disconnect Soapbox from Salesforce. And then it'll also show you the user name and the name of the user that you used to connect it. So in this case, Ryan Osmick, and then this username. That is all you need to do if you want to make the connection between Soapbox and Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud just for integrating the donations app. Now, if you use our other apps like events, actions, petitions, directories, shop, forms, any of those, then you also are going to need to integrate with Salesforce using this salesforce.com account settings module. This is going to require you to enter the same username and password that you entered with Salesforce when you clicked the connect button lower, as well as populate the security token associated with this user account. By doing this, then you'll be able to have our other apps integrate with your same Salesforce instance. Now, once you've connected Soapbox to Nonprofit Cloud, you've got the ability to go into the donations manager and either create a new donation page or edit an existing page and have access to a number of ways that you can both customize the page as you can do regardless of what CRM you're integrated with. And that includes setting some basics like the title of the donation form, deciding what contact information you want to get from folks, setting the payment options like what one-time predefined amounts you have, whether or not you're accepting recurring donations. You can set the messages, so emails that are sent as confirmation pages, all of this other stuff that you can do with a standard donation page, you can do here. Essentially, every bit of text within the user experience on the front end of a donation page, as well as a number of different options for the donation page can be customized as you wish. With the integration itself with Nonprofit Cloud, that is taken care of on the integration tab. And it is specifically in the Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud integration section. So not the Salesforce integration section, but the Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud integration section. So if we open up that, we can see a number of different options here. The first one is whether or not this donation form sends data to Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. In this case, we've selected the integration to be turned on. We could turn it off if we wanted to for this particular form, or we could set it to use the global configuration. And then in that case, whatever is set on the configuration for the donations app in general will be used here. So in most cases, folks set the configuration integration tab to yes or on for Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud integration. And then they don't need to worry about setting that on a form by form basis. From there, you've got the option to populate a number of those parameters that we've seen already. So the first one is campaign. If we go ahead and um, click select here, we are shown a pop-up that allows us to search and select a given campaign in our Salesforce instance that we want to associate these donations or gift transactions with. You've got the same option for designation with the advantage of being able to choose the donor chosen designation. Because we've done that, we've got the option to select not just one, but multiple designations from within Salesforce. Now, whatever text is set as the designation within Salesforce will be shown to the front end users when they go ahead and make that selection. So these different values of one dot where is the most need, or capital campaign, etc. That is verbatim what the name of the designation is in Salesforce. In the future, we'll be looking to allow you to customize the text here so that you can have different text in Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud than is shown on the front end to users. But for right now, whatever's in Salesforce will be displayed to users on the front end in that dropdown. You can also customize the donor chosen designation label. So if you don't want it to say designation, let's say you want it to say, where would you like your donation to go? You can go ahead and change that here. Then this last item is you've got the ability to set an outreach source code. So this is really for tracking marketing efforts. So you can go ahead and click select, just like the other options. You can search for a given outreach source code if you wish, and then select that and click select to have that recorded here for this particular donation form. And then if we go ahead and click save, it'll save these values on the form and update them on the front end. Now, if you're making changes within Nonprofit Cloud, let's say you're adding campaigns and outreach codes and designations, one thing that you might need to do is within the administrator, come over to the setup and click clear cache. What this will do is we'll tell Soapbox, hey, data that you've been saving from Salesforce for these various elements like campaign designation, go ahead and clear all of that out of your cache and get fresh data from Salesforce. So the next time you go to say the campaign select pop-up or the designation select pop-up, any new record that you've added will be displayed. You can select that and go ahead and save those changes. That is the dime tour of our integration with the nonprofit cloud. If you would like to stay up to date with information about new releases, new functionality that we add into Soapbox, including functionality that is in support of our integration with Nonprofit Cloud, you can do really any of these following things. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. You can attend more of these webinars that we host. You can check out our community announcements that we post for our various releases that update Soapbox. You can follow us on the Salesforce Trailblazer community. And if you're a partner organization, we can also hook you up with a partner demo org. We'll go ahead and include links to each of these items in the follow-up email that we'll send after this webinar, along with a link to the recording of this webinar. Thank you so much for hopping on. We appreciate your time, and happy soapboxing.